The crystal champagne flute shattered against the marble floor, fragments catching chandelier light like scattered diamonds. Mason Rivera froze, his serving tray trembling as 50 judgmental eyes turned toward him. The silence in the Hampton Estates ballroom felt suffocating. Welcome back to Heart Stories, where love finds a way against all odds. Today's story proves sometimes the most unexpected encounters change everything. Mason had worked at Meridian, Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant, for 3 years. Tonight's catering gig at the Whitmore estate was supposed to be simple: serve champagne, stay invisible, collect his desperately needed paycheck. Alexander Whitmore's engagement party to Charlotte Pemberton was the social event of the season. As Mason knelt collecting glass shards, expensive leather shoes appeared. A strong hand helped gather broken pieces. "You don't need to do that, sir." Mason's voice barely rose above a whisper. "Neither do you. Not alone. Anyway." The man's gray eyes met his. Alexander Whitmore knelt beside a Mexican-American waiter at his own engagement party, ignoring scandalized whispers. His perfectly tailored navy suit wrinkled as he helped with a mess that wasn't his responsibility. "Alex, darling, what are you doing?" Charlotte's voice cut like a blade. "The staff will handle this." Mason watched Alexander's jaw tighten. Of course, he stood slowly, offering Mason his hand. The brief contact sent an unexpected jolt through both men. "Are you injured?" Alexander's concern seemed genuine. "Just my pride, sir." Mason managed a weak smile. Pride recovers faster than crystal. Alexander's eyes held something Mason couldn't identify: understanding. The rest of the evening blurred. Mason served while observing the perfect couple. Charlotte sparkled and charmed. Alexander smiled on cue, accepting congratulations with funeral-like enthusiasm. During a break, Mason escaped to the terrace. October ocean breeze carried salt and autumn leaves. Growing up in conservative Texas had taught him to hide his true self. Coming out at 18, his father called him an abomination. His mother cried for days. He'd learned love often came with conditions his authentic self couldn't meet, escaping to solitude. Alexander's voice startled him. "I'm sorry, sir. I'll return to work." "Please don't." Alexander stepped onto the terrace, loosening his bow tie. "I needed air that didn't smell like obligation." They stood watching waves crash below. "Beautiful view." Mason offered carefully. "It is." Alexander's tone carried sadness. "I've looked at it my whole life, but I'm not sure I've ever really seen it until tonight. You should return to your guests. I should do many things. What I want to do is very different." Their eyes met again. Alexander looked at Mason like he was drowning, and Mason was oxygen. The doors opened. Charlotte's voice drifted out. "Alexander, where did you disappear to?" Reality crashed back. Mason was a waiter. Alexander was engaged. This moment was borrowed time. "Duty calls," Alexander murmured, but didn't move. Mason stepped back. "Good evening, Mr. Whitmore." Later, Mason's phone buzzed with an unknown number. "Thank you for helping tonight. Your kindness didn't go unnoticed." "Hey," Mason stared, heart hammering. He typed back, "Thank you too, Mr. Whitmore." The response came immediately. "Call me Alexander." And Mason, this conversation isn't over. Watching the mansion's lights disappear, Mason realized he'd encountered someone whose gray eyes held the same quiet desperation he recognized in his own mirror. Sometimes the most dangerous moments feel like coming home. 3 days later, Mason's phone rang during lunch break. Alexander's carefully controlled voice made a proposition. "My family is hosting dinner Friday. We need additional staff. I specifically requested you." Mason stepped into the alley. What kind of proposition? The words hung in autumn air. Alexander had found an excuse wrapped in employment safety. "Mr. Whitmore, I don't think that's wise." "Alexander, and why not?" "Because you know why." Mason's voice dropped. "I can't stop thinking about our conversation. About you. I need to understand what's happening." Mason fought against the pull he'd felt since that terrace. "Nothing's happening. You're engaged. You have a life that doesn't include complications like me. What if I don't want that life?" The vulnerability nearly broke Mason's resolve. Then figure that out without involving me. I can't be your rebellion experiment. This isn't rebellion. Mason, it's recognition. I've spent 30 years sleepwalking through expectations. Then I meet you and suddenly I'm awake. I'll work your dinner. But Alexander, we can't do this. Friday evening, the Whitmore townhouse exuded old money elegance. Alexander appeared during preparations, eyes finding Mason immediately before duty demanded attention elsewhere. The guests were Manhattan's elite, still politicians, CEOs, socialites. Charlotte moved like a graceful predator. Alexander played his role with practiced precision, but Mason noticed strain around his eyes. During dinner, Mason began understanding Alexander's cage. Every opinion was expected, every choice predetermined by family legacy. When Alexander discussed sustainable hospitality, his father dismissed it as costly idealism. Charlotte spoke about their wedding as a family merger, emphasizing tradition. During the third course, Mason overheard her addressing a donor about their foundation. We carefully screen beneficiaries. Some causes are too controversial for our reputation. Her gaze flickered toward a conservative guest known for anti-LGBTQ legislation. Mason understood Charlotte wasn't just Alexander's fiancée, she was his cage's architect. When Alexander caught his eye, Mason saw something dangerously close to desperation. After dessert, Alexander whispered, "The service hallway, 5 minutes." Mason's mind screamed warnings, but his heart decided. Alexander waited, having discarded his jacket, looking younger and vulnerable. "This is dangerous," Mason said. "I know, but listening to Charlotte plan our perfect life while pretending to care about causes she'll never support, I felt like suffocating." They stood close enough for Mason to smell Alexander's cologne. "You can't use me as escape from your life. What if I don't want to escape? What if I want to change it entirely?" "Alexander, you don't understand. I'm not just working class. I'm gay. I'm Mexican American. I grew up poor in Texas where people like me don't exist in your world." Alexander stepped closer. "People like us." The words hit Mason physically. "Us. I've known since 14. I've spent 16 years hiding, pretending, but I can't anymore. Not after meeting you. Not after remembering what wanting something real feels like. Your fiancé, your family, your entire life is built on lies. Then maybe it's time to stop lying." Footsteps echoed. Charlotte's voice called Alexander's name with growing impatience. They returned to their roles, but something fundamental had shifted. They shared a secret that could change everything or destroy them both. When guests departed, Alexander appeared one final time. "I meant what I said tonight. So did I. This path leads nowhere good. Maybe, but for the first time, I know where I want to go." Walking into Manhattan night, Mason carried Alexander's confession in growing certainty their story was beginning. Sometimes important conversations happen in stolen moments between obligation and desire. Mason spent the week trying to forget Alexander Whitmore. He worked double shifts, avoided social media, threw himself into journalism coursework. But late nights in his Brooklyn studio, Alexander's words echoed relentlessly. "People like us." Thursday evening, walking home from Meridian, his phone buzzed. Alexander calling. "I need to see you, not for work, just because if I don't talk to you soon, I might lose my mind." Mason stopped walking. "Alexander, we agreed this was complicated." "Complicated doesn't describe what I'm feeling. I've been lying so long I'd almost convinced myself lies were truth. You changed that. Where are you outside your building? You don't know where I live." I asked around. Carefully. They sat in a Park Slope cafe far from Manhattan society circles. Alexander traded tailored suits for jeans and sweater, looking almost normal. "Tell me about Texas," Alexander said after ordering coffee. Mason hesitated, then told him about growing up in traditional Mexican-American family where machismo wasn't culture, it was survival. Realizing he was different at 12, spending 6 years praying the difference away, coming out graduation night, watching his father's face transform from pride to disgust. "My mother cried 3 days. My father said I was no longer his son. Siblings were forbidden from speaking my name. Alexander listened, gray eyes reflecting personal pain. When his turn came, words came slowly, as if never spoken aloud. I had my first crush at 14, David Chen, my boarding school roommate. When I caught him kissing another boy, I felt something I couldn't name. Jealousy, longing, terror. Alexander wrapped hands around his coffee cup. I told my father about David and his boyfriend. Not from malice, but because I thought exposing them would prove I was nothing like them. They were expelled within a week. I've carried that guilt 16 years. I destroyed 2 boys' lives because I was afraid of recognizing myself in them. Everyone makes choices they regret when scared, Mason said gently. Do they? I've made the same choice repeatedly. Safety over truth, approval over authenticity. I'm 30, about to marry a woman I don't love to please a father whose approval isn't worth the price. Then why do it? Because walking away means walking away from everything. My father will disown me. The board will remove me. Society will shun me. I'll lose every connection I've had, but you'll gain yourself. The truth hit Alexander physically. He stared at Mason, who'd lost family for choosing authenticity, who worked multiple jobs supporting dreams that might never materialize, but possessed something Alexander never knew: peace with his identity. I don't know how to be myself. I've performed so long, I'm not sure there's anything real underneath. Mason reached across, covering Alexander's hand. Start with this moment. What do you want? Alexander's voice dropped. I want to hold your hand without looking over my shoulder, take you to dinner, not caring who sees. Wake up next to someone who knows exactly who I am and chooses to stay. Then choose that. Choose yourself. Choose us. They talked until the cafe closed, walking Brooklyn's quiet streets as Alexander grappled with dismantling an existence built on others' expectations. At Mason's building, Alexander turned under the streetlight. If I choose you, I need you to understand what it means. Media attention will be brutal. My family will try destroying you. Society will judge everything about your background. I've been judged my whole life for being Mexican, poor, gay. If I face that judgment anyway, I'd rather face it standing next to someone who loves me. Alexander kissed him then, soft and desperate, full of suppressed longing. Mason's first kiss in 2 years. Alexander's first honest kiss ever. I'm calling off the engagement tomorrow. Mason's eyes widened. Are you sure? No. But marrying Charlotte while feeling this way would destroy us all. She deserves better than lies. So do I. So do you. Next morning, Alexander sat in Charlotte's Central Park apartment, watching her face transform from confusion to rage to something like relief. You're gay. Her voice was flat. Yes. Charlotte stared out at early joggers. I've known for months, maybe years. The way you avoid touching me disappeared during wedding conversations. I told myself it was nerves. But women know. You knew I hoped I was wrong. Hoped if we went through with it, you'd grow to love me eventually, or learn to fake it convincingly. Relief isn't what I expected to feel, but knowing I don't have to pretend anymore either. It's like breathing for the first time in months. When the story broke, media frenzy exceeded Alexander's worst expectations. Billionaire heir calls off society wedding. Mason's phone rang constantly with reporters. His address was leaked. Photographers camped outside his building. Alexander didn't waver. He moved Mason to a secure apartment, hired security, prepared for inevitable confrontation with his father. When Nathaniel Whitmore Sr. cornered his son, his rage was nuclear. You've destroyed everything I built, everything our family represents. No, Dad, I've stopped pretending to be something I'm not. This Mexican boy has poisoned your mind. His name is Mason Rivera, and he's the best man I've ever known. If you can't accept that, maybe it's time I build something new. Sometimes the most important gift is permission to stop performing and start living. Their first official date happened at Tony's Pizza in Brooklyn, a hole in the wall with vinyl booths and an 80s jukebox. Alexander arrived in jeans and Yankees cap, looking nothing like the billionaire who dominated headlines. "How are you holding up?" Mason asked, noting dark circles under Alexander's eyes. "I've been better. My father froze my trust fund. The board's calling emergency meetings. Charlotte's father threatens lawsuits. Any regrets about us? Never. About the timing and chaos every day. They ordered pizza, trying to pretend they were normal people on a normal date. But normalcy felt elusive with paparazzi lurking outside. Tell me something real." Alexander said, "Something that has nothing to do with this insanity." Mason smiled genuinely for the first time in days. "I've been accepted to Columbia's journalism program for spring semester. Graduate school." Alexander's face lit up. "That's incredible. Why didn't you tell me?" "Because everything's been about you lately. Your coming out, family drama, media circus. I didn't want to compete for attention. This is about us now. Your dreams matter just as much as mine." When conversation turned to Alexander's situation, weight returned to his shoulders. "The lawyers are working to maintain my position, but the board's skeptical. Being gay makes me a liability to the brand." "What does that mean practically?" "I need to prove authenticity is good business. That Whitmore hotels can lead on social issues." An idea formed in Mason's mind. What if you created something entirely new? LGBTQ-affirming hospitality. Hotels that aren't just tolerant, but actively welcoming. Alexander leaned forward, enthusiasm evident. "You'd help me develop the concept." "If you're serious, yes. But it can't be about us. It has to create real change." The next months tested every aspect of their relationship. Alexander fought to maintain his position while developing inclusive hospitality concepts. Mason balanced graduate coursework with helping Alexander research their proposal. Their first real fight happened over Thanksgiving dinner at an upscale restaurant. Mason watched Alexander unconsciously display wealth, ordering expensive wine without checking prices, tipping extravagantly. "You have no idea what it's like to count every dollar," Mason said walking home. "To choose between groceries and textbooks, I'm trying to understand, but I can't change where I came from." "I'm not asking you to change it. I'm asking you to acknowledge it." The fight forced them to confront that love alone couldn't bridge every gap. They needed constant work, communication, willingness to be uncomfortable while learning from each other. Breakthrough came in December when Alexander presented his inclusive hospitality proposal to the Whitmore board. Mason watched from the gallery as the man he loved transformed into a confident leader, advocating revolutionary change. Alexander's presentation was flawless, combining data about LGBTQ spending power with appeals about corporate responsibility. He spoke about authenticity as competitive advantage, leadership through values rather than following trends. When the board voted unanimously to approve a pilot program, Mason felt pride swell in his chest. That evening, they celebrated at the same Brooklyn pizza place. "I couldn't have done this without you," Alexander said, taking Mason's hand. "Yes, you could. You just needed permission to be yourself. But having you believe in me made believing in myself possible." As winter deepened, their relationship found rhythm. Alexander developed the first LGBTQ-affirming Whitmore property while rebuilding relationships with his supportive mother. Mason thrived in graduate school, his thesis evolving into exploration of authentic representation across marginalized communities. On New Year's Eve, watching fireworks over Manhattan from Alexander's rooftop, Mason reflected on their journey. 6 months ago, I was invisible. Alexander said, performing a life that wasn't mine. 6 months ago, I thought love happened to other people. Mason replied, people whose families accepted them. And now Alexander turned toward him. Now I know love is something you build every day through choices and compromise and willingness to keep showing up when it's difficult. They kissed as fireworks painted the sky. Two men who'd found each other across impossible circumstances and chosen to create something real together. Sometimes courage isn't dramatic gestures, but daily decisions to remain vulnerable and trust that love can bridge any distance. 18 months after meeting at the Whitmore estate, Mason stood behind a podium at Housing Works bookstore, looking out at readers waiting to hear about his debut novel. The Space Between Worlds had spent 6 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list, earning praise for authentic, cross-cultural love portrayal. Alexander sat in the third row, pride evident despite trying to remain inconspicuous. Media attention around their relationship had settled into manageable background noise. During questions, a young Latina woman asked, "Your protagonist struggles with feeling worthy of unconditional love. How did you move past that?" Mason glanced toward Alexander. "I learned worthiness isn't something you earn. It's something you recognize. For years, I accepted love with asterisks. The right person doesn't ask you to shrink. They ask you to grow." An older man asked about corporate responsibility. Alexander stood up, the room's energy shifting as people recognized him. "May I answer? 3 months ago, we opened our first fully inclusive property in Austin. Every staff member completed LGBTQ sensitivity training. We partner with pride organizations. Our occupancy rates are 15% higher than comparable properties. Authenticity isn't just morally right, it's good business. When you create spaces where people feel genuinely welcomed, they respond with loyalty you can't buy." After the event, they walked through the village hand in hand, stopping at their coffee shop where the barista knew their orders. "I love watching you discuss the hotel project," Mason said. "But hey, every day we get letters from guests thanking us for creating space where they could be themselves. Parents writing about bringing LGBTQ children somewhere they felt celebrated rather than tolerated." Mason's phone buzzed. "Film rights offer for The Space Between Worlds." "That's incredible," Alexander said. 2 years ago, I was serving champagne at your engagement party. Now Hollywood wants our story, your words, talent, perspective brought this to life." Outside their apartment, Alexander grew quiet, then dropped to one knee on the sidewalk where they'd shared their first real conversation. Mason Rivera. "You've taught me love isn't about finding someone to complete you. It's about finding someone who challenges you to become who you're meant to be." Alexander pulled out a simple silver band. "You've made me braver, kinder, more honest than I thought possible. Will you marry me?" And Mason whispered. Then stronger. "Yes, absolutely yes." 6 months later, they exchanged vows at the LGBTQ Community Center where Mason first found support arriving in New York. The ceremony was intimate, filled with chosen family rather than birth families. Diego, Mason's drag queen best friend, officiated with humor and grace. Jamie, Alexander's activist sister, served as best person. Guests included transformed hotel employees, journalist friends, activists who'd found partnership in Alexander's initiatives. Alexander's mother attended, her acceptance journey ongoing, but love evident in her tears. Mason's family remained absent, but chosen a family felt complete and authentic. During vows, Alexander spoke about measuring success by authenticity rather than approval. Mason talked about discovering home isn't a place but a person who sees all of you and chooses to stay. 3 years later, The Space Between Worlds became a critically acclaimed film with Mason as executive producer, ensuring authentic representation. Whitmore Hotels expanded their inclusive model to 12 properties, with Alexander speaking at conferences about values and profitability intersection. But success had never been the point. The point was choosing love over fear, authenticity over approval, partnership over perfection. In their shared home office, decorated with Mason's journalism awards alongside Alexander's business recognition, Mason often reflected on their journey. Love isn't about finding someone exactly like you. It's about finding someone committed to growing alongside you. What would you tell someone navigating love across different backgrounds? How do you think courage shows up differently in relationships than other areas? Remember, every love story teaches us about human capacity for growth, acceptance, and transformation. If this story moved you, subscribe to Heart Stories for more tales of authentic love conquering impossible odds. Until next time, keep believing and choosing love over fear.